The Chelsea revolution under Todd Boehly has been quite the ride. Thomas Tuchel was fired, Graham Potter hired, a staggering £600 million spent on new additions, and now Potter fired too. Is it a transition? Is it pure chaos? One thing is for sure, it's certainly not going to plan. Amid the madness, it's easy to forget that Chelsea have another looming crisis to deal with, the future of Mason Mount. Rapidly approaching the expiration of his deal in 2024, speculation is ramping up that the England international could leave Stamford Bridge this summer, with contract talks hitting a dead end. With no solution in sight, the attacking midfielder could walk away from the club he has represented since the age of 6, and as we will explore, the Blues may have little choice but to cash in on Mount while they can. Few could have predicted that Chelsea's shining example of academy excellence would be a victim of Boehly's ownership. So how has the relationship between Mount and his boyhood club gone so wrong? In this Football Daily Explained, we're heading to West London to find out. This has not been a vintage campaign for Mason Mount. Despite an initial upturn in form under Graham Potter, he's only scored once since mid-October and failed to register a single assist. And now his perennial spot in the Chelsea starting 11 is under threat, with Potter demoting him to the bench with increasing frequency. Mount has as many yellow cards as he has goal involvements, a damning reflection on how this season is going. It must be remembered that he was named Chelsea's best player 2 years running prior to this campaign, begging the question, what is going wrong for the Cobham Academy star? Potter believes Mount has been the victim of Chelsea's overall dip in form, recently telling the press the midfielder was suffering like the rest of us. It also turns out he's been struggling with a pubic bone injury in recent weeks, which explains why he dropped out of the latest England squad. But neither of these excuses paint the full picture of Mount's decline, mainly going forward. Just last season, Mount produced the 8th most shot-creating actions in the Premier League, constantly causing teams a problem in the final third. 11 goals and 10 assists were more goal involvements than any of his Chelsea teammates. However, this season he trails Sterling and Havertz, while his expected goals and assists have collapsed from 0.6 per 90 to below 0.3. The stats show Mount is failing to push forward or unlock defences with the same swagger. Compared to last season, his key passes have slumped from 2.2 per 90 to 1.5, while his progressive carries have fallen from 3.5 a game to 2.6, mainly due to a severe decline in his dribbles into the box. In Mount's defence, he's often been moved away from his preferred position on the left-hand side of attack or midfield, often deployed much deeper or behind the striker, and it's a shift that has clearly impacted his ability to find space and get on the ball. But even when played where he wants, Mount has largely been ineffective, to the point Chelsea signed João Felix in January to provide competition. The Portuguese star has been one of the club's standout players in 2023, pushing Mount further to the periphery. Out of position, out of confidence, and now out of the starting 11, it's no wonder Mount has been struggling. His dip in form couldn't have come at a more challenging time either, with his future at the club hanging in the balance away from the pitch. Talk of the 24-year-old's future has loomed over the player and the Blues all season. Mount last signed a new deal at Chelsea shortly after returning from a loan spell at Derby County in 2019. Worth £80,000 per week, it was a handsome reward for the teenager at the start of what was just his 3rd campaign as a senior pro. But today, that contract significantly undervalues what Mount has achieved for club and country. He may have 36 caps for England, but Mount is one of the lowest paid players in the Chelsea dressing room. Only the likes of Trevor Chalobah, Conor Gallagher and Edouard Mendy earn less, while even Carney Chukwuemeka bagged himself a £100,000 per week deal when he signed on from Aston Villa, despite only having 13 Premier League appearances to his name. Mount is right to demand a significant pay rise, with some reports suggesting he's been looking for parity alongside Raheem Sterling, the club's top earner on over £300,000 per week. But Chelsea are showing no signs that they will bend that far. Mount's representatives have rebuffed a number of proposals over the past 12 months, including an offer worth £200,000 per week shortly before the World Cup. The player gambled on producing a strong performance for England in Qatar to further his cause. However, it backfired, as despite an energetic display against a woeful Iran, Mount faded across the rest of the tournament, ending up as a substitute against Senegal and France. Following that disappointment, it was suggested Mount would accept a deal in the region of $250k per week, close to what Reece James agreed back in September. But again, more issues have occurred in negotiations. For James to secure his bumper pay rise, he had to agree a 6-year extension that will tie him down until 2028. Todd Boehly is very keen on incentivized long-term deals rather than the traditional 3 to 5 year contracts, meaning every new addition has committed in the same manner. Dacho Fofana and Benoit Badiashile signing on until 2030, then Mykhailo Mudryk and Enzo Fernandez to 2031. This is one way to protect their investment in a player, but it appears Chelsea are following this transfer strategy to get around financial fair play regulations, using a process called amortization. By signing players to multi-year deals, they can spread the total cost of a player over the span of the contracts. Mudryk, for example, cost £88 million, but in the club's accounts, that sum is divided over his 8.5-year deal, working out at around £10 million per season, a less alarming figure in the eyes of FFP. Chelsea want Mount to do the same, offering him lower wages but suggesting a long-term deal will provide the player with security. The Athletic revealed their latest offer was for 7 years. However, Mount wants a shorter contract with a higher base salary, giving him the flexibility to decide his future on his terms. But despite their clever accounting, it appears the West Londoners are in no position to give him what he wants. Chelsea recorded losses of £121 million last season, far and beyond the £105 million deficit that is permitted by the Premier League across a 3-year period. With that in mind, the Times are reporting that the club must find a way to balance the books, especially given they look set to miss out on lucrative Champions League football next season. It means that the club will have to consider a fire sale of players to get their accounts in order before June the 30th, when the 2022-23 financial year gets taken into consideration, and this could mean moving Mount on. Negotiations over his new deal have been stalled until the end of the season. Mount has hired a new agent to assist in his talks, but his future at the Bridge is looking ominous. In the words of The Athletic's David Ornstein, Chelsea are very clear on this: he signs a new deal when dialogue opens again in the summer, or he is going to be sold. So what happens next? Both parties want to find a solution where Mount stays. Nearing almost 200 appearances for the club, he is a hugely popular figure among the fans, with his name still regularly sung at Stamford Bridge. But every player has their price, and Mount is no exception. It's said Chelsea have slapped a £70 million valuation on the attacking midfielder, a considerable sum given his contract situation. That said, in an inflated market that has seen players like Anthony, Enzo Fernandez and Mudryk go for considerably more, signing a Premier League ready start with international pedigree for £70 million or less should make him a very appealing transfer target. And rumour has it the 24-year-old situation is being closely monitored by the Blues' rivals. Manchester City, Newcastle United and even Bayern Munich are all reportedly looking at Mount, the Times claiming that Thomas Tuchel is keen on reuniting with the player in Germany. However, the most concrete interest has been from Liverpool, with Football Insider claiming the Merseysiders are favourites to sign him. And it's not hard to see the appeal of joining Liverpool. The club desperately needs to update their ageing midfield, and Mount more than fits the energetic profile that tends to shine under Jurgen Klopp. The German supercoach has also made it clear the Reds will spend in the summer as they look to arrest their own slump. And Mount would be an excellent place to start. He could still get what he wants at Chelsea. After all, if Todd Boehly's ownership has taught us anything, it's to expect the unexpected. But with so many factors in play, the Chelsea faithful may have to prepare for a world where even Mason Mount is no longer at blue. So that was our explained on what on earth has happened to Mason Mount this season and why he might actually leave Chelsea in the summer. But Blues fans, we want to hear from you. Should Todd Boehly give him what he wants, or should he sell him while he can? Let us know in the comments down below. As always, like the video and subscribe to Football Daily if you haven't already, with notifications switched on, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.